Well, hey there. In today's video, we're going to switch it up and choose one of our Facebook group members' projects to build. But they don't know it yet. Yeah, I think this project is going to be perfect. I've recently started a Facebook group for woodworkers, Bearded Vikings Woodwork Group on Facebook, and I'll link it in the description below. I've decided that I'm going to be making a brand new series where I scroll my Facebook page every couple days and find an interesting project to make that one of my Facebook members have posted. This is going to be fun. I would like for you to be involved, so go ahead and request to join the Facebook group today. Answer a few questions and you'll be approved. So for our first video in this series, we're going with Steve Goodrich, who posted this awesome yard decoration. It looks like he may have used a CNC for the lettering. I happen to have an xTool S1 laser that I'll use for my sign. But first, let's get started. Okay, so taking a look at Steve's here, it looks like he's used 2x4s and a 2x6. We're gonna put our spin on it, but I'm gonna keep it similar. I'm not sure his dimensions, but I'm imagining that it's 5.5 inches wide at the top, and then down here, I imagine he made these feet a bit longer. So we're gonna go 11.5 at the base for the feet. So that's where we'll start, right there at the feet. I'll start here at the miter box and get 2 of them cut down, roughly 24, and then we'll cut our 11.5 out of those. And looks like he put a 45-degree bevel on these. So we'll go ahead and do that now. So we'll set our bevel to a 45 and cut them long to long 11.5 on that 45-degree bevel. And I'll just use my piece that I just cut for measuring out this next one. There's our 2 11.5s. Now let's go ahead and cut another long point on our other piece we cut at 24. And what we'll do with this piece is line this long point up with the short point of our 11.5 piece, and then come over here and mark where the short point is onto our longer piece here. And that will be our next long point measurement cut. We'll cut 2 of these at the miter box. We'll just set those aside for 1 second and take some longer 2x4, and we need 4 of them cut at 35 inches. Meet me at the miter box. All right, so now that we got our 4 35-inch pieces cut, we'll go ahead and get them screwed to our smaller pieces we cut with the bevel. Now, if we did our math correctly with our initial pieces at 11.5, by the time we got to the short point of the smaller piece, we should have 5.5 inches short point to short point. 5.5, short to short. We're going to pull in 1/4 inch from both short points. And our 2x4s will be screwed to the inside of those lines. We'll take an 1/8 inch drill bit and pre-drill through the bottom them damn geese. And we'll pre-drill 2 holes for each 2x4 on each of these pieces. To fasten our 2x4s, we're going to be using some 3-inch T25 screws, number 10s. We'll line up our 2x4 with the mark we made earlier and go ahead and get these fastened. There's 1, and here's 2. Now, what I'm going to do is measure how wide of a piece I can put in here, which is going to be 24 inches. So now I know that I can make my sign 24 inches wide. So what I'll do is grab this 1x4 piece of cedar, and I'm going to use this piece because it's nice and rustic looking. And I know that I can cut this at 24 inches. And I'll bring my piece I just cut over to my first leg here, and I'll mark right where my 2x4s are. And then I can just take it and push it out flush over here and make a mark. So now I just need to take out this and this mark. So basically we'll be leaving in that center, and it's 3.5 inches because obviously these are 2x4s. So we can do the same exact cut on this side. That way it sits in a nice pocket in between the 2x4s. So let's cut this over at the bandsaw. So after I make my first cut, I can take a stop block and just attach it to my fence where I need to stop each cut. Then we'll move our fence over and go ahead and make these other notches. Now you can make this cut with a jigsaw or a table saw if you don't have a bandsaw. I'm going to bring it over here. And that's a nice tight fit. Now let's go ahead and add a dab of glue. I'm going to turn this one around because it's got these wanes on the side of the 2x4 that I want on the inside. So now let's go ahead and pop a Brad in his ass. And on the side of my shop here, I've got this piece of cedar that I'm going to bring inside and use for my sign. Oh yeah. All right, and I know that my sign length has got to be 24 inches. So what I'm going to do is cut 2 of them at 24 inches. And I'll show you why in a second. We're going to take these 2 and rip them down to 7.5 inches. We'll go ahead and open up our xTool program and get our welcome sign lasered onto our pieces. We'll go ahead and process our welcome sign. Hit start, and let's get this rolling. All right, so while this is rocking and rolling, we're gonna go ahead and I'm gonna cut 2 more of those pieces I cut earlier. So meet me at the bandsaw and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So we're gonna cut 2 more of that bottom piece that we cut and nailed those legs to. And we already have our stop block set up, so we can go ahead and rock and roll 2 more of these. Now that we have those cut, what I'm going to do is take and rip this 24-inch 2x4 at a 1/2 inch. All right, so we've got these ripped a 1/2 inch by a 1/2 inch here, and we'll take our sign, pull up 25 inches on both sides here. And that's going to be where our first slat goes, right above that 25-inch mark. So what I'm going to do first is just set this in here. And now I'm going to take that other 7.5-inch piece that I ripped earlier and just set it in there just like that, resting on the 2x4s. Now what we want to do is take one of our 1/2 inch strips that we ripped, and we're going to take and set it right on top of that 7.5-inch piece we just put in there and pop a Brad in his ass. Then we will do the same thing with our top piece. We'll set this inside here. Get our other one that we ripped down and pin nail it to the top 1x4. I'll show you why we did this in just a minute. But first, we're going to go ahead and get our first 1x4 nailed on, and we'll line it up with that mark we made at 25 inches. And I'm just going to use some of these hand drive trim nails. Then we'll take one of our 7.5-inch pieces, go ahead and set it in there tight to your 1x4. Get your next 1x4 and get it set in here. And make sure you're nice and tight to that 7.5-inch piece. And go ahead and trim nail this in. Alright, now we got to nail the other side. So we'll just take and spin it all at once. And we'll take and trim nail this back side. Just like that. Before we grab that other piece out of the laser, and before I tell you why we constructed it this way, I gotta finish the top. And I need a 2x8 for that. So we're gonna make a quick Lowe's run and I'll meet you back here. We're in our local Lowe's and we're gonna grab a 2x8x8, which is $7, not bad. Don't you just hate running to Lowe's for one thing? Oh my God, it's such a pain in the butt. All right, let's go ahead and get this thing milled down. So I know that my sign is 24 inches wide. I want a little bit more of an overhang on mine, so I'm going to cut mine at 28 inches. And now we got some 2x8 left over for another project. Once we get that cut to 28 inches, we're going to take our bevel and turn it to a 25-degree bevel. And I want to come up about 3/4 from my bottom and cut the bevel there. And we'll do that on both sides. Now we'll head over to our table saw and get that same bevel ripped down on both sides. My dimensions are going to be spaced out evenly. So we're going to have 7/8 on either side of the front and back hanging over. And on my sides, we're going to have 1.5 inches hanging over either side. Now we want to get 2 holes drilled out on each of our 2x4s, going up into the top. And we're going to use some 2.5 inch T20 screws. You want to make sure that you got your stuff spaced out properly. We'll just flip it over and do this opposite side. And we will wind up plugging these holes. That way you'll never notice. Now, before I show you the special feature with this top, I need to go ahead and finish my feet. So let's go ahead and get our feet glued on. So remember, we got those 11.5 inch beveled pieces that we're going to be using. But I'm also going to add 2 blocks to each foot, cut to 3.5 inches. So I'm going to get those cut real quick at the miter box, and we'll get this all glued together. All right, so first I'll attach these blocks to my 11.5 inch pieces, add a dab of glue, and make them flush with our long point. I'm going to use some 2.5 inch screws and come right behind my short point of that bevel and add 2 screws. And add a dab of glue. We're not going to add any more fasteners, and we're just going to take and add a dab of glue all the way across our pieces here. And we're going to take and line up our short point of the block piece with our long point of our smaller piece here. And just clamp these on nice and tight.
Yeah.
Make sure everything's clamped nice and tight. We'll let this dry up, and I'll meet you back here to finish this bad boy up. All right, boys and girls, our sign is done. Let's take this on out of here. Look at that, man, that turned out so damn good. Well, let's go ahead, and now I can show you why we constructed our top that way. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Wow, absolutely brilliant. Now, the reason I constructed my sign the way I did is I want to be able to have 4 different signs. You can make it a welcome sign. You can make your signs holiday themed. And you can offer these on your personalization options when you're selling these. That will add a value to your project. So, Merry Christmas, Happy Halloween, Trump 2024. I'm just saying, Biden 2024, whoever. But this thing has unlimited features. That's why I created my top this way. Look how easy they slide in and out. Boom. Voila. Take this one out. You can swap them out when it changes from Halloween holiday to Christmas holiday. The options are so unlimited, and this thing is bad ass. Meet me over at the workbench, and I'll give you a rundown on how much this thing is going for. So one that is closest and similar to ours is this one. They've got this thing marked at $200. That's crazy profit, man. I spent $7 for my 2x8. For the 2x4s, I spent another $8. So that's $15 for the wood. For the cedar that I used in mine, you're looking at around another $8, so let's just mark it out to $40 at the maximum that you'll spend on building this thing. Now when you come to the lantern and the hanging plant, that's optional and up to you. These things are super hot at the markets and a guaranteed sale for you. Now when it comes to the lanterns, basically you just want to put them right below your welcome sign and you can lay them out to your liking. I'm not going to put lanterns on mine quite yet because I still got to add the finish, and I'm going to go with a rustic look, so I'll probably use a walnut stain or something like that. But this thing is going to be a guaranteed seller. With the amount of money that it takes to build, I plan on making a shit ton of these for the fall. Go ahead and hop on the train while it's rolling. Fall is right around the corner. I want to give a special shout out to Steve Goodrich. Hopefully he sees this video, and if you want to post your photos and videos of some projects that you've done or share your YouTube channel or your wood shop, go ahead and request to join the Facebook group linked in the description. I hope y'all enjoyed this video. I had an absolute blast building this thing. Super easy build, mega profit. You'd almost be crazy not to build and sell these signs. Until next time, get in your shop and make some sawdust. Skull.